I'm Mark Browning. I am the Senior Judge of the Family Court of the First Circuit and Deputy Chief Judge for the First Circuit as well. We being the state of Hawaii, the judiciary, the Family Court, are one of two or three model courts that are a unified family court in the nation, and we're a model court designated such by the National Council of Family Court Judges and Juvenile Judges. And what a unified family court is that essentially anything and everything involving criminal or civil matters involving children or families comes under one roof, which is important because many of the families that we deal with and the children have different kinds of cases, so people can go to one place. And we try to operate on a one judge, one family, and that provides for an opportunity for the judges to get to know the family and for the judges to get to know the particular minor, and there to be consistency and more specialized sort of attention to the issues and challenges facing that family and or that child. I think specifically for minors, we do a number of different things that are very important. I think one of the things that is important to note is that our job as judges is not simply to adjudicate, which means simply to decide guilt or innocence. But the most important part of our job is to, after assuming we've adjudicated the minor, found that minor guilty, how do we help that child? How do we find a way to heal the situation? How do we find a way to deal with whatever challenges that child is facing? And I think, there are a lot of different ways to look at these issues, particularly when we talk about kids, but we find that we have about 5,000 kids on average that come to our court in the First Circuit, and a significant portion, about 80% of them, have substance abuse issues. And they range from everything from ice to morphine to cocaine to heroin. The youngest ice addict I ever dealt with was 10. And it really has nothing to do with economics. It has more to do with family. And how do you help somebody like that? The other issue is a lot of times what we find after we peel back and address the substance abuse issues, for example, is that there's so many of our kids who are in front of us who suffer some kind of trauma. I once had a case where I had this young man who was 14 years old, and his name was Kainoa. And he, like most of our kids, 95% or 98% of our kids, he was a good kid. He just wasn't going to school. I had been arrested for minor pot violations. I think he'd been picked up on a shoplifting charge. And we tried to figure out what was going on with him because he kept coming back. As we found out that at the age of 7, he had been thrown out of a second-story window by his dad. Those issues had never been treated. So a lot of times, what we have to understand is as judges, as court officers, is to really look at these kids, and sometimes, the one layer may be just adolescence, one layer may be just basically some sort of learning issues or whatever the issue may be, but deep, deep, deep down, we have found, for the most part, that the challenges are dealing with trauma. In reaching out to these kids, you have to hold them accountable, but at the same time you have to love them and be compassionate. And part of that is getting them to understand that you're never going to give up on them. Getting them to understand that you believe in them, that their life is important, that they can be anybody they want to be, that the only limitation they have in life is how they think. And I think that as we as judges may be the first person in that kid's life who's ever told them that. And from that, we have learned that in order to help that child really get to a position where they believe it, from my perspective, it's important for people to understand that, and particularly lawyers, that the law provides an opportunity to heal in this way, to bring order out of chaos, to keep the peace, to provide for a sense of accountability and justice, but also an opportunity, particularly in family court, to heal relationships. And that is one component, the healing of relationships. That principle cuts across every single kind of case we see. I think that if people look at it from that perspective, particularly lawyers. It's very easy to litigate, but that's only one part of what lawyers, good attorneys do. That understanding the needs of one's clients and understanding the consequences of certain decisions and being a peacemaker to bring people together and to find a way to reach agreements is probably one of the more important responsibilities that we in the legal profession have.